Dear students, this is the first lecture of our topic heterocyclic chemistry. Today we will discuss about introduction of heterocyclic compounds, and we will also learn how we can classify them in different categories depending upon their structure. So let us quickly start our today's discussion with the introduction of heterocyclic compounds. First, let us define what are cyclic compounds. Now we all know that in a cyclic compound the atoms form a ring. Like suppose I will write a structure. This is a cyclic compound. This is cyclohexane. Even benzene, which is aromatic, also six membered, this is also cyclic. So you can see in all these structures all the atoms they join together to form a ring like structure. So now the compounds in which the ring is made up of atoms of only one element, those rings are called isocyclic compounds. So you must remember the cyclic compounds which contain only same type of atom in the ring, they are called isocyclic compounds. For example, cyclohexane. So all the atoms are carbon in this ring. Similarly, benzene, all the atoms they are carbon, they are of same type, so we call them isocyclic compounds like this. Now you can see this compound. Now this ring, it contains only nitrogen. So similarly this ring, it contains only carbon. So such compounds in which the atoms which constitute a ring, they are all same, we call them isocyclic compounds. Similarly this cyclopenta 1,3-diene, this contains only carbon atoms in the ring, so it is isocyclic. Now if the atoms which constitute a ring, they are only carbon like this in cyclohexane, in benzene, in this cyclopenta 1,3-diene, then we call that compound a carbocyclic compound. Now these compounds, cyclohexane, this benzene, this cyclopentadiene, they are both isocyclic. Why? Because they contain same atom and that atom is carbon, so we have given them a new name, carbocyclic compounds. Now what are carbocyclic? Those compounds which contain only carbon atoms in the ring, they are called carbocyclic compounds. Now if when we call a cyclic compound a heterocyclic, which is our main topic, we call a compound as a heterocyclic compound only when it contains at least two different atoms in the ring. Now this definition is very important and it is very simple. In order to for a compound to be heterocyclic, that compound, first of all it should be cyclic as the name suggests, and then it should contain at least two different atoms in the ring. So make sure the two atoms, they are two different atoms, they have to be part of a ring. Only then we can call it as a heterocyclic compound. For example, this compound, now you can see this compound contains a cyclic structure, and this cyclic structure, it contains phosphorus and sulfur. Now it contains at least two different atoms, it contains phosphorus as well as sulfur. So this compound is a heterocyclic compound. And if I write a structure like this, suppose let me write here, if I write this structure NH2 aniline, now this compound is not heterocyclic. Why? Because for a compound to be heterocyclic, it should contain different atoms in the ring. It contains nitrogen, but it is not a part of the ring, so it is not heterocyclic. For a compound to be heterocyclic, the two different atoms should be a part of the ring. As I read, as ring atoms, or we can say they are members of the ring, only then it will belong to a category which we call them heterocyclic compound. And the ring which contains two different atoms, we call that ring a heterocycle. Now this ring will be called a heterocycle. This ring is not heterocycle because it contains all the carbon atoms. This ring is not heterocyclic cycle. This ring is heterocycle, and because of this ring, this compound is heterocyclic. Now if the ring contains no carbon atom, if the ring has no carbon atom, like in this case it has phosphorus and sulfur, it does not contain any carbon atom, then we call that ring as inorganic heterocycle. Now first of all, let us see why it is heterocycle. Because first of all, it is cyclic. Second, it contains two different atoms. Now that means it is heterocyclic. Now third condition, it does not contain any carbon. Now it has only phosphorus and sulfur, so that's why we call this ring as inorganic heterocycle. And another very important example of inorganic heterocycle is, which you have studied many times, is borazine. Now this compound B3 and 3H6, it is also called inorganic benzene, and its common name is borazine. Now you can see this ring contains two type of atoms, boron and nitrogen, means it contains two different atoms and none of the atom is carbon. So this ring is inorganic heterocycle, and this compound is heterocyclic compound. Now if at least one ring atom is carbon, so if at least one atom of that ring is carbon, then we call it as a organic heterocyclic compound, which we will study in this year. Our main topic of interest is organic heterocyclic compounds. That means it will, in the ring it will contain carbon surely. In addition to carbon, we will have some other elements also, like it may be nitrogen, it may contain oxygen, it may contain sulfur, it may contain any element other than carbon, and that has to be present in the ring. So we call it organic heterocyclic compound. And the atoms, ring atoms which are not carbon, we call them heteroatoms. All the other atoms in the ring except carbon, we will name them heteroatoms. Example, now consider this case. Now this ring contains six atoms. This is carbon, this is carbon, this is carbon, this is carbon. Now at least it contains it contains four, but the condition is at least it should have one carbon atom, but it has four, so that means it is a organic compound. Now it also contains sulfur and nitrogen, which are heteroatoms. So the atoms which are not carbon, we call them heteroatoms. So that's why this compound belongs to organic heterocyclic compound. This is a organic heterocyclic compound. Why? Because it is cyclic, it contains carbon, and it contains atoms other than carbon in the ring, and these atoms, these are called heteroatoms. And its name is 4H14thiazine. So heteroatoms are sulfur and nitrogen. Similarly, this compound oxazole, its name is oxazole, it contains carbon and it is cyclic, so that means it is organic, and it contains nitrogen and oxygen as heteroatoms, so it is organic heterocyclic compound. Now what element can be part of the ring? In principle, all the elements except alkali metals, they can act as ring atoms. So instead of carbon, we can have all other elements from the periodic table in this ring except alkali metals. Alkali metals, because they are monovalent, they cannot, for a ring, for a atom to belong to a ring, it should be attached to, at least it should be divalent, it should make at least two bonds. But alkali metals, as they are monovalent, so it is not possible for them to be a part of this simple monocyclic ring. Now this heterocyclic ring, it can vary from size. It can be three-membered ring like this. This is a three-membered ring. This you have studied many times. Epoxide. This is a four-membered ring with oxygen. This is called oxetane. So we can have any number of atoms. Now the ring side corresponds to the number of atoms in the ring. Now this contains one, two, three atoms. So we call it three membered. This contains one, two, three, four. It is four membered. It is one, two, three, four, five. It is five membered. It is one, two, three, four. 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. It is 6 membered ring. So the smallest possible is 3. We cannot have 2 membered ring. At the smallest possible is 3 membered ring, and there is no upper limit. It may exist as 7 membered, 8 membered, 9 membered, and even large membered heterocycles are possible, but the most common are 5 membered, 6 membered, and 7 membered rings. The higher membered rings, they are not so common. So in principle, how to synthesize them? It is possible to derive every heterocycle from a carbocyclic compound. As I have already said, those cyclic compounds which contains only carbon. Example I have already discussed. Suppose we have this case, this cyclohexane. Let us have a case of cyclohexane. This is a carbocyclic ring. Now in order to make a heterocycle from this, we need to replace this CH2 group. We can replace this CH2 group by any appropriate heteroatom. We will discuss this in detail. I am just giving you reference here. We can form such type of this CH2 can be replaced by NH. So this will give you a heterocycles. That is the meaning. It is possible to derive every heterocycle from a carbocyclic compound by replacing appropriate. We can either replace CH2 group or CH group by some heteroatom, then we will get a heterocyclic compound. This is the theoretical basis to obtain heterocyclic compound. Otherwise we have to carry a number of transformations to achieve this compound from this compound. And next, we can classify these organic heterocyclic compound as saturated heterocycles, partially unsaturated heterocycles, heteroannulenes, and aromatic heterocycles. These are the broad categories in which we can classify these heterocycles. Now we will discuss these one by one. The first case is saturated heterocycles. These are also called heterocycloalkanes. Why? Because they are obtained from cycloalkanes. So the most important condition is that there should be no multiple bonds between the ring atoms. So all the ring atoms, they should be saturated. That's why we call it saturated heterocycle, or we can also call it heterocycloalkanes. Like suppose we have cyclohexane. Okay, now if we replace this CH2 group, okay, minus CH2 plus X by any heteroaromatic group, we will get this. Now this X can be oxygen, it can be sulfur, it can be NH. Okay, we can replace them and we will get a heterocyclic compound which is saturated. Like if X is O, then we call it oxane. If X is sulfur, we call it thiane. Like this compound, this is oxane. If instead of oxygen we have sulfur, it is thiane. If it is NH, it is piperidine. I will write the structure here. So this is your piperidine. This is how all these are saturated, because it doesn't contain any double or triple bond. So we call them heterocycloalkanes because they are obtained from cycloalkanes. Similarly, we can have such type where we can even replace this CH2 group by another heteroatom X. Now we will call it, if it is oxygen, we will call it 1,4 dioxane. If both are sulfur, 1,4 dithiene, and if both are NH, it is piperazine. That's how heterocycloalkanes are obtained. Means they should not, it should be cyclic. For a compound to be saturated heterocycle, it should be cyclic, it should be saturated, and it should contain at least one atom other than carbon in the ring. Then we will call it a saturated heterocycle. Now their reactivity is almost similar to their aliphatic analogous. Aliphatic analogous means those compounds which are branched or linear, which do not form ring. These are called aliphatic compound. For example, oxane. Oxane is a cyclic ether. Its properties will be similar to ROR ethers, di. Okay. Similarly, this is called dialkyl ether. Similarly, these dithienes or thiene or 1,3-dithienes, thiene means if it is sulfur, their reactivity will be similar to RSR, or we can say R2S, dialkyl sulfides. And the piperidine and piperazine, when X is NH, their properties will be similar to, now this NH, as this is NH group, so it is a secondary amine, so their property will be similar to secondary aliphatic amines, means R2NH. Means the properties of cyclic saturated heterocycles is almost similar to their aliphatic analogous. Now as we have already said, this is ether, so its property will be equal similar to dialkyl ether. So it is if it is sulfur thiene, it is called thiene, it is analogous to dialkyl sulfides. And if it is nitrogen, its property will be similar to secondary amines. So that's how we obtain saturated heterocycles, or we also call them heterocycloalkanes. Now the next category is partially unsaturated systems. These are called heterocycloalkenes because they will be obtained from cycloalkanes by replacing some CH2 or CH group by heteroaromatic group. So we call them partially unsaturated. Partially means they are not completely saturated, they will be partially saturated. Now as the definition states, it contains multiple bonds that may be present between two carbon atoms. The example is this, suppose it is a cyclohexane. Now if we replace this CH2 group minus CH2 group by some X, X can be any heteroatom, it can be oxygen, sulfur and NH, we will get this. Now this compound is partially unsaturated. Why partially unsaturated? Because for a 6-membered ring, this is a 6-membered ring, the maximum possible unsaturation is this. It can have 3 double bonds, but it contains only 1, so that's why it is called partially unsaturated system. These systems, if we have only 2 double bonds, this system will also be partially unsaturated. That means saturation less than the maximum possible saturation, that system will be partially unsaturated. Generally they are obtained from cycloalkenes, that's why these are called heterocycloalkenes. And example is this compound, if we have oxygen here, it is called 3,4 dihydro 2H pyran. Now how to get name of these compound, this we will discuss in our next lecture, that is in our syllabus, how to name these heterocycles. Here just I want to tell you about the classification, so don't worry about names we will discuss separately. So this compound is a partially unsaturated system, it is 3,4 dihydro 2H pyran. Similarly we can have such type of system, it is called 3,4 dihydro 1,4 dioxane. This is also partially unsaturated because it contains only one. If it should have been this, then we should have called it a fully saturated because now there is no other saturation possible. And in these cases we have considered a double bond between carbon and carbon. Here you can see double bond is between carbon and carbon, between carbon and carbon. But we can also have those partially unsaturated compounds in which heteroatom is involved in a double bond. Like we can replace this CH group. Okay, so I will write it with a different color. What we can do, we can replace this CH group by some heteroaromatic like X. Okay, these are obtained from this by minus CH plus X. We will get such type of compound. Now X can be O positive, S positive or NH, and if it is NH, its name is 2345 tetrahydropyridine. These compounds are also partially unsaturated systems. So the main point is it should contain at least one double bond. This double bond can be present either between carbon and carbon, or it can also be present between carbon and halogen. So then we will call it partially unsaturated system. Partially unsaturated means the saturation less, unsaturation less than the maximum possible saturation. Now the case of maximum possible saturation is next case, and it is system with the, as I say, greatest possible number of, and one condition is non-cumulated double bonds. Non-cumulated double bonds means, suppose I have this structure, this chain. Okay, now these two double bonds, these are called cumulated bonds. That means we should not have two adjacent double bonds in the system. We can have this single bond, this double bond, means we should have a conjugated system. So the system with the greatest possible number of non-cumulated double bonds, this is called annulenes. Now annulenes you have already discussed in your previous classes. What are annulenes? They are monocyclic, means they should contain only one ring conjugated. The double bonds should be conjugated polyenes. So this is the definition of annulenes. Annulenes are monocyclic conjugated polyenes. So from this what we can conclude is that we can also prepare these heteroannulenes. They are prepared from annulenes, and annulenes are monocyclic conjugated polyenes like benzene. Benzene is an example of annulene. So we can drive heterocycles by two ways. We have two possibilities. Either we can have a heteroannuline of the same ring size as the parent carbocyclic annuline, and this is will be obtained if CH group is replaced by X. Now let us see how. Suppose this is a annuline. Okay, why is it is annuline? First of all, it is cyclic, monocyclic. It contains only one ring, and all the double bonds, they are conjugated. So monocyclic conjugated polyenes. Polyenes, it contains more than one double bond. So this is annuline. So this is 6-annuline. Its name is benzene. Now we can obtain heterocyclic by replacing this CH group. Okay, this CH group by any X group. Like I will write here. From here we can remove minus CH plus X. X can be O positive, S positive or N. Now if it is N, then the structure will be something like this, and this is a well known compound to you. It is pyridine. Okay, now the first category is the system of the same ring size. It is a 6-membered ring. This is also a 6-membered ring. This is obtained when we replace CH by X. X can be O positive, S positive and any heteroatom. Similarly, we can also replace second CH group by X also. Then we will get this structure, and for nitrogen this compound is something like this, and this, the common name for this compound is pyrimidine. So these are pyrimidines, this is a pyridine. Okay, similarly this is another aniline, this is 8 aniline because it contains 2 to 4 to 6 8 pi electrons. So we can replace this CH group by X, we will obtain this heterocycle. Now this is simple aniline, this is heteroaniline, and it contains it is of same ring size as the parent aniline. How we have obtained? We have obtained it by replacing this CH group, or we can replace this CH group also, you can get this. So this is 1,3-diosacene if it is nitrogen, and if it is nitrogen it is azocene. So this is the first possibility by which we can obtain heteroanilines from simple anilines which contains only carbons. The second possibility is we can replace this whole CH2 group. Okay, the next possibility is we can replace this whole CH double bond CH group by X. Now if we do so, what we will get? We will get compounds like this. So this compound is obtained by replacing this CH double bond CH by X. This X can be O, S or NH. Now you can see this heteroaniline, it contains a lesser number of atoms than the parent aniline. So system of the lower ring size. So there are two possibilities to obtain heteroanilines from anilines. First possibility is replace CH group by X, then we will get a heteroaniline of the same size as the parent aniline. Another possibility is we can replace CH double bond CH, then the aniline that heteroaniline that will be obtained, it will be of lower ring size than the parent aniline. Now as I have seen, now if it is oxygen it is furan, if it is sulfur it is thiophene, if it is NH it is pyrrole. These you have already studied in BSc, all these heterocycles. Similarly we can obtain from 8 aniline also by replacing this CH double bond CH by X. X can be any heteroatom, oxygen, sulfur or NH. If it is X it is oxapine, if it is S it is thiopene, if it is NH it is azapine. So there are two possibilities to obtain heteroanilines from simple anilines. You will get two type of heteroanilines, one with the same ring size as the aniline. This will be obtained when CH group will be replaced by X, and second possibility is we can replace a CH double bond CH by X, then the heteroaniline that will be obtained will be of lower ring size than the parent aniline. And for a compound to be a aniline it should be monocyclic and all the double bonds should be conjugated, that means they should be delocalized. Now from our previous discussion what we have learnt is that the heterocycles, any heterocycle, either we obtain it by replacing CH or CH double bond CH. All these heterocycles that will be obtained, they will be isopi electronic. That means the number of pi electrons in the parent aniline and the heteroaniline, they are same. So these are called, then we call this phenomena isopi electronic with the parent aniline. So the heteroanilines means, in simple words we can say heteroanilines, they are isopi electronic with anilines irrespective of the method by which they are made. Now you can say this aniline contains 2 to 4 to 6 pi electrons, and this aniline which is obtained by replacing this CH by X, it also contains 1 to 2 to 4 to 6 pi electrons, and even this aniline which is obtained by replacing this CH double bond CH by X, it contains 2 to 4, and this heteroatom, it gives 2 electrons to the pi system, it contains 6 pi electrons. Now you can see from this all the parent aniline as well as the aniline which is obtained by two methods discussed in our previous slide, both these anilines, all these anilines, they have 6 pi electrons, so that means they are isopi electronic with one another. Now, how is it possible? Because in pyrrolium and titanium salts, these are pyrrolium and titanium salts which are obtained by replacing this CH by X. Now, the heteroatom, it donates one electron pair to the conjugated system, and its non-bonding electron it does not contribute. Let us understand this with the example of pyridine. Suppose we have pyridine. Okay, pyridine is this. So its two electrons they are involved in conjugation, and the two electrons which are non-bonded, these are not part of the conjugated system. So its system contains only 2 to 4 to 6 pi electrons, whereas in second case, when we obtained in case of furan thiophene pyrrole, which is obtained by replacing this whole group by heteroatom, this also contains 6 pi electrons. Why? Because now one electron pair of the heteroatom, this electron pair, this is incorporated into the conjugated system. We can discuss this with the example of your furan. Let us discuss the example of furan. Now in furan, these two electrons they are involved in resonance, so that means it contains 6 pi electrons, and these are aromatic. So that's how they have same number of pi electrons as parent annulenes. Now when nitrogen is the heteroatom, okay, this difference we can express this by designing pyridine like nitrogen atom and pyrrole like nitrogen atom. This is very important. Okay, you have to listen carefully here. I will rub this. Now I will explain this you with the example of the heteroatoms containing nitrogen as heteroatom. Suppose one example is nitrogen and the next example is your pyrrole. So this is the reference point between pyridine and pyrrole, because we will normally call in future like pyridine like and pyrrole like. So those systems, heteroaromatic system in which the electron pair of the heteroatom, or as we are discussing in the nitrogen case, is involved in a resonance, we will call them pyrrole like, because it is pyrrole, so we call it pyrrole like. Whereas those heterocycles in which the electrons on nitrogen they are not involved in resonance, we will call it pyridine like. Okay, because when we discuss complex heteroatoms, generally we use term pyrrole like and pyridine like. It in simple words, when we call it a system like pyrrole like, then the atoms on this heteroatom will be involved in delocalization or resonance. When we say it pyridine like, these electrons these are not involved in resonance. That is the difference between pyridine like and pyrrole like systems. Now the next or last system is a heteroaromatic system. As the name suggests, in these systems the ring is aromatic. Now for a system to be aromatic, we all know that. Now these include heteroannulenes. So these heteroaromatic compounds are a special type of heteroannulenes. So all heteroaromatics they are heteroannulenes, but all heteroannulenes they are not heteroaromatics. This is a one particular kind of heteroannulenes, they will be heteroaromatic. So those heteroannulenes which follow these conditions, which follow Huckel rule. What is Huckel rule? That means which will have 4n plus 2 pi electron system, and this system should be delocalized in the ring. Those heteroannulenes will be called heteroaromatic systems, like in pyrrole. It contains 2 to 4 to 6 pi electrons, and these are involved in resonance, so that's why it is heteroaromatic system. Similarly, thiophene, it is also a heteroaromatic. Furan is also a heteroaromatic system. If it is sulfur, then it is thiophene, that is also a heteroaromatic system. So the condition is it the in simple words, the ring should contain heteroatom as well as it should be aromatic, and for a ring to be aromatic it should follow Huckel rule that you already know. You have discussed this in your previous classes also, aromatic compounds. Now the most common compound, as we all know, is 6-annuline, that means benzene. The compounds which are obtained from benzene, this we can obtain from benzene by replacing CH double bond CH by NH, then we will get this. So these are also called heteroarenes. The example I have already written: furan, this is furan. Thiophene, when we have sulfur instead of oxygen, it will be called thiophene. This pyrrole, pyridine, you know, and the beryllium and titanium ions, they are all aromatic compounds. And we also have a next system, anti-aromatic system. You all know those systems which possess 4 and pi electrons. So those systems which have 4 and pi electrons and these electrons are delocalized, these are called anti-aromatic compounds. And a typical example in this is azepin and azocin. So these are very important anti-aromatic systems. So the structures you have already seen in our previous slide. I will write once again. Azepin is a 7-membered ring. Now this system contains 2 to 4 to 6 to 8. So it belongs to 4 and pi electrons. 4 into 2 is 8. So it is anti-aromatic. We also have azocine. Structure of azocine goes like this. It is a 8-membered ring. It is derivative of both are obtained from cyclo, octa, tetra. In its structure is, instead of this we have one nitrogen. So this is azocine. Both these compounds, they are anti-aromatic. Why? Because they belong to 4 and pi conjugated electron system, and this system, as you already know, they are less stable and very reactive. This you have already discussed, that anti-aromatic compounds, they are less stable and more reactive. So what we have done so far is we have classified heterocycles as heterocycloalkanes, heteroannulines, and heteroaromatics. Now why we have classified them? Because this classification helps us, or we can say allows us, to estimate their stability and reactivity. Like we said, anti-aromatic are less stable and more reactive than aromatic compounds. So looking at the structure, they belong to which category, we can have an idea about their reactivity and stability. That's why the classification is very important of these heterocycles. Next, let us see why we have to study these heterocyclic compounds. So what is the importance of these compounds? Actually, these compounds are very important, and 60% of your organic chemistry, it deals with heterocyclic compounds. So 60% of your organic compounds, they are heterocycle. And it is also important for human life because DNA is composed of heterocyclic bases, pyrimidines and purines. Many medical students, as well as you also, you have already studied this in your BSc final year. DNA composed of these bases, purines and pyrimidines, and these are, you can see from their structures, these are all heterocyclic compounds. So they are very important for our existence of our life also. Next, they are pharmacologically active, means they are a common ingredient of your uh, medicines. Normally, this first medicine was your penicillin. The main ring for activity of penicillin was this beta lactam ring. This ring is called beta lactam ring, and you can see it is a heterocyclic compound. So they are medicinally pharmacologically active, and they are used in clinical use, and they are also used as insecticides. Their application is in agriculture. So actually they have very wide applications, because most of the organic compounds, they are heterocyclic. They are fungicides, they are herbicides, they can be used as pesticides. They are have some advanced application like sensitizers, developers, antioxidant properties. They can be used as copolymers to produce polymers of some required characteristics and features, and they can be used as vehicles in synthesis of other organic compounds. Like these bases, they are used in the synthesis of DNA. So similarly, other heterocyclic compounds, with the help of them we can synthesize a wide variety of organic compounds of specialized use. And most important, chlorophyll, which is responsible for photosynthesis, and our hemoglobin in our blood, the protein hemoglobin, which is responsible for oxygen transportation. These are also heterocyclic compounds. I will show you the structure of chlorophyll. This is the structure of chlorophyll. It contains magnesium. Now you can see these rings are heterocyclic rings. Now you can see how important heterocyclic compounds are. In fact, most of the now studies, they in organic chemistry, they do work on heterocyclic chemistry. And if you have to go abroad to after GRE for your PhD, they require that you should have studied heterocyclic compounds in your curriculum, considering their wide applications. So that was all for today. So today basically we did introduction and classification of heterocyclic compounds, and it was, I guess, very interesting and very important lecture. So in the next lecture we will start nomenclature, which is quite important, and it is frequently asked in your exams. There are different methodologies to name these heterocyclic compounds. So we will learn all these methods one by one. So that is all for today. So please share and subscribe the channel, and you can also share with your friends. Thank you very much for your kind attention.